What we do here is go back.
Alright, if there's one thing that you can be sure of here at Simple Suburban Living is that you never know what you're going to see over here. So this week, it was actually a few weeks ago, it was my wife's birthday, a special birthday for her, and she wanted to have some extra bass in her car. Her and I are products of the 90s, I think. And many of you out there, I know most of our YouTube audience is in the same generation, so you'll understand. A lot of us in high school had these kind of speakers in our car. Some people still do. That's great. But we wanted a little extra bass in the car. So in our family Traverse, we're adding some extra sound here. So I just want to take you kind of through a general from the sky overview of the installation of the system. I know this may pertain to some of you guys and not to many of you, but definitely sounds a lot better than it used to, a lot louder, and a lot of fun. So we've had a lot of fun with it so far, but I'll take you guys through the installation of these kicker speakers into our 2009 Chevy Traverse. Alright, so just to give you guys a quick tour of the installation here. These are the two 10-inch Kicker S or Competition S speakers. These are 600 watt peak each, and they're in a sealed box, so it fits nice in the back of the Traverse here. And then I just have these little terminals here that this can be just easily disconnected, so I can take this out when we have cargo and stuff like that in here. There's one on each side. We'll just have to be careful that the wires don't touch each other, so I'll have to put something on there like a cable tie or something to tie those back when we take them out. But this is the actual speakers, and I'll move them out of the way and show you where the amp is. Okay, so I moved the speakers up a little bit. So in a Traverse, you've got this little storage compartment here underneath, and this is where I have the amp mounted, as well as some extra speaker cable in case we need to move it around a little bit, and all my power cables and RCAs and all that good stuff. This is a Kicker CX series amplifier. It's a mono or one channel 600 watt running power. It's a 1200 watt max amp, and this is a really nice amp so far. It's set up very easily, and it has a couple features I'll talk about in a little bit that made it real easy to set up here with a factory stereo. I have a power. I'll talk about the power first. So the power cables here, I've got a ground and a power cable, and the little remote wire in there. I'm using 4-gauge wire, which will support up to 1500 watts. And since this is 1200 watt max, it's safe to say this should handle it very well. I'll show you where the ground goes here first. Okay, so the ground wire runs from the amp here. It just kind of circles around underneath. I've got this back panel pulled off here. This is all covered normally, but I just drilled a small hole, and it comes that power kit comes with this screw. It's a self-tapping screw, and this is a part of the body of the vehicle, and so that's just tapped right in there. I also have this high-level converter that I talked about. I showed at the beginning there. This is convert from our high-level speaker cables to the low-level output, RCA outputs. I have a ground coming from that also ties into that as well. That helps to eliminate any like alternator wind or other noise you might get. So show you the rest of the power system, then we'll come back to the high-level input here. So this is all again covered by that panel that goes in the back here, but this is our 4-gauge power wire. And in the Traverse, it's very easy to run because this actually just runs up through these side panels here. The power cable just comes from the back here. We're in the back door now, and the power cable just comes underneath these panels here, and then I just removed this piece. You can see the power cable coming underneath here, and it continues up underneath this panel and then underneath the carpet. Now in the Traverse, right behind the passenger seat is actually where the battery is located, which is kind of odd. I've never seen a vehicle like this before, but this panel right here actually pops up very easily. There's a little torque bit here, and that pops up, and the battery's underneath there. So it already had a post on it for the 4-gauge wire to attach to, so I didn't have to add a new terminal or anything like that on the battery. Fuse and everything is right underneath there. There's lots of room in this little compartment. And so this is all a real nice little installation. And again, power cable just runs right on here. It's a lot shorter run than running all the way from under the hood, and I didn't have to deal with coming through the firewall in the front or anything like that. Obviously, with other vehicles, you may have to do that, and so you'll have to just run it up, continue it up here through the panels and along the floor there, and just tuck it underneath things as you need to. But that's pretty much the whole power system right there. Okay, so dealing with our high-level inputs or our audio inputs to the amplifier. So most all of your amplifiers are going to have just a standard RCA type input on them, which is considered a low-level input. And that's why, again, I have this high-level converter here, because I have a stock radio and I'm just hooking this up to our speaker outputs. And so this high-level converter here comes with 4 wires. All of them are pretty much the same. And that's for a left and a right channel, positive and negative. So with most amplifiers, if you're hooking this up and you want, to other speakers, you want to have the full stereo left and right channel and all that good stuff. I'm just hooking this up to a mono amp just for bass, just for subwoofers, and so I don't care if I get a left and right channel. So all I had to do was just run one wire or one group of wires, a positive or negative, for basically one speaker output off of the stock radio. I just chose my right rear speaker on the stock radio. I'll show you kind of how I hooked that up there as well. But I ran this blue and black wire. This just goes up along the edge and underneath the panel. Is very easy, just tucked it underneath all the panels on the way up. There's a very easy place to conceal it. And then that comes back here. And again, because I don't care about a stereo or a left and right channel going into this high-level input, I just tied my left and right positives together and ran that, all to this group, and my left and right negatives together to this group. So this gives me a sound input or output from my stock stereo back here to this converter, which then converts it to the low-level input and then goes into the amplifier. And then the amplifier strips off all the other frequencies of sound except for the low-level bass, and that's what it sends to the speakers. So another feature of this amplifier that I talked about earlier is it has this remote post on it. Now, on most amplifiers, this has to get a 12-volt signal, and so you have to run this remote wire up to the back of your stereo to like a remote signal or a remote wire back there somewhere. And what this does is this only powers the amplifier on when you have turned the radio on. This kicker amp also has a feature where this remote wire can also be just tied into a speaker output, and it senses a 6-volt or less power source, and that will turn the amplifier on. And so I also wired that remote wire, you can kind of see it here, into the positive side of my speaker wires coming from the stock radio. So when the speakers or the radio is turned on, this remote wire senses that power, and then it powers up the amplifier. You need to have something like that, or at least a manual switch, because you don't want to leave the amplifier on all the time. It'll kill your battery quick, especially an amp like this. Okay, and so every vehicle is going to be different, but for the Traverse, in order to get behind the radio, this panel right here just pops off, and I just stuck my finger in there, and I'm in a butter knife actually, and there's metal clips along the silver strip, and you just kind of pry those out carefully. This whole strip pops off, and then you can just kind of grab right behind the whole bezel on this radio unit and pop this whole thing right out. There's a couple screws behind the radio comes out, and then you need to identify what wires you're going to tie into. Now I actually ran the wire coming back from my speakers, or coming from the amp. It's just run up here under the carpet, and then it comes up inside this panel, and then up behind the radio here. It was very easy to run that wire. So I just looked up online for this vehicle and found that the right rear speaker was tan and blue, was the wires I was looking for. Tan was negative, blue was positive, and so I hooked my wire up to those behind the radio here, and just used some good connectors and some tape to cover everything up. And that was that. Put this back together again. This all snapped back together really easy. So every car is going to be different, but that's all you need to do for a setup like this. Wow, it's definitely a lot louder than it used to be, and the bass makes the music sound a lot better. So we definitely love it. My wife loves it. The kids have had a lot of fun with it as well, and so couldn't be happier with the new bass setup in the car. So it's nice that it's removable too, because we haul stuff around all the time, and we'll need to take it out from time to time. So, but I think it's going to work out pretty good. Hopefully you guys found this video informational or entertaining at the least, and if you guys are looking to do something like this in a similar vehicle, please throw comments or questions down below. I'd love to answer those for you if I can. Obviously every vehicle is a little bit differently, but hopefully you enjoyed the kind of overview of how I put everything together with this setup in particular. So as always guys, please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in following along and checking out any of the other crazy things we have going around the simple suburban homestead. I'd love to have you follow along with those videos, and hit thumbs up if you can as well. Makes a big difference on the videos. I always appreciate that. And as always guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.